Hi again. So I'll continue with my journey story. So I went away to this music festival and on a little sort of road trip with this new guy. I was basically excited in the beginning of it and just ready to get away from my life, just escape everything. And looking back, I feel like that guy did come in my life for certain reasons. He taught me a little bit about sort of just being free. He also seemed to teach me about manifesting. He was the type of guy that just, I think he would believe something and just make it happen, and he was really showing me that, and I appreciated that. But in the end, it just felt like we would sort of butt heads, and I also sort of discovered that he was a guy that grew up with money, whereas I sure didn't, and neither did my twin. And it was funny in a way that I just couldn't relate with him, and I felt like he couldn't relate with me. We were just so different. And to me, he just sort of had a certain attitude or an air about him that I just really started to not appreciate. And I just started running from him. It was really odd. I started treating him sort of how my twin was treating me. I was just running from him and ignoring him, or I don't know. I remember he was upset. I went to his place one time and I slept over, and then in the morning I just left without even saying goodbye or anything. And he wrote me later, like, why didn't you even say goodbye to me? Like, it was pretty rude of me, really, but I just had no connection. I was careless. I just didn't care. And I knew in my heart that I was longing for my twin, and that I thought this distraction would get me to move on, but if anything, it just showed me how dynamic my connection with my twin was. So around the time when I was ending things off, my twin did contact me again. I had just really given him space. I knew that his ex and stuff were in town, and he was writing me a bit, and one day he had asked me, can I call you? And he saw that I went to that music festival, and he even asked me, who did you go with? And I just said, a friend. Really, it wasn't a lie. It wasn't my boyfriend or anything, but I just didn't feel the need to tell many details. And I could tell it was bothering him a little bit. And so we started talking back and forth, and he asked if he could call me one day, and I was like, sure. Actually, before that, he called me once, and I missed the call, and I wrote him back something like, is everything okay? Like, I wasn't expecting him to call me, so I thought it was weird. He's like, yeah, it's just calling to say hi. So again, sometimes we want to find someone else to pull our twin in, but I would say that it doesn't work if you try to fake it. If this was sincere, I was really trying to move on, and I think my twin felt it. And it wasn't the fact that I was like purposely trying to make him jealous that I think he was feeling or anything like that. It was just he felt my energy, that I wasn't obsessing over him during that time. I did take my energy back, and he did come forward a little bit then. So I ended up talking with my twin. His ex and his son left, and at one point he asked if I would go see him. One time it was like late at night, and I was like, no, I can't see you right now. I have my son and stuff. But we made a plan, like, why don't we do something the next day? So he said, okay. So the next day came around, and I texted him about going to see him, and he ends up going back and forth, and he makes some really lame excuse, like that he got bit by a bug and it was all inflamed and he thinks he should go to the doctor, like some really, to me, stupid excuse to not want to see me. And I just sort of was real with him, and I was like, you don't need to make an excuse if you don't want to see me. And he said, I'm not lying, like, for real, this is what's going on. And I just thought, do you know what, even if he was going to the doctor, he could do that and see me after. Like, this just, I could tell he's avoiding me. So I left it. Then I think a while after that, we got in touch again. And it was one of these things where it would feel like at that point he would say, okay, I want to see you. And a lot of times he would do it like late at night, and that wouldn't work out. So one time he did it in the daytime, and I thought, I need to get over there. Like, it felt like frantic, like, I need to go now. So I rush over to his place, and basically at this point it was strange. It almost felt bad in a way, but yet so right. It was like we would just get together and basically make love, and that was it. And I felt like, he wasn't taking me on dates really like he used to. We were just connecting, we would talk, it was almost like what they say, twin flames will come together for sort of lovemaking, confession. You confess some things to each other, and then you go your separate ways again. And we kept doing that over and over again. So it seemed to be this process where I'd go over there, we'd kind of do that, then separate again for a while after we had, exposed some feelings or things would come out a little bit. And basically it just seemed like he hesitated. He lives far away, he didn't know what could come of us, and he was basically admitting to me he was afraid to get close to me, is what I was gathering. Time went on, and like I said, he kept pulling away. After a bit, he kept going back and forth to where he lives, and one time he brought his mom back out here with him. And as soon as he got into town, he calls me, with his mom, and he's like, oh, we have to do something and everything. I was like, oh, I was so excited, like, wow, he wants to introduce me to his mom? That's big. So I end up meeting his mom. She was here for a month, and in that whole month, I only met her once. So I think I only saw him one time in a whole month. And basically, it was amazing. I loved his mom. We just connected right away. And we spent a day, and I spent the night there when his mom was there. And it was bothering him that I was getting so close to his mom so quickly. It was like it was, again, freaking him out, and he was sort of pulling away from me, or something seemed weird. So after that, he really pulled away from me. His birthday was coming up, and on the phone, he would remind me, oh, my birthday's coming. And I'd say, okay, like, should we do something? Can your mom and I do something with you? And he's like, okay, yeah, let me get back to you with the plan. I end up making him the sweetest, like, gift basket. I put together, like, cute things that I thought he would enjoy. And during this time, it seemed like his depression started to kick in. And I think that's why his mom came, was to sort of help him. She ends up helping him to get a dog at the time. I think she thought it would help his depression. And he did. He just seemed distant. He seemed sad. That's when I really think he started to go into his pain. And I had already been processing pain, not at a deep, deep level, but just feeling alone, going through my own breakup. In the background of all this was so difficult. My ex was guilting me constantly, for ruining the family, breaking up the family. Meanwhile, I had resentment and anger at him in ways that I thought that he had already broken up our family. Then from what I'm finding out is my twin's going through that with his ex, and she's guilting him, and she's making him feel like a bad father, and there's just a lot of guilt coming our way. So his birthday comes, and I'm all ready to go. I show my friends this, like, gift basket I made for him. I put, like, pajamas and slippers, and I tied it with, like, I put a candle in there and, like, cookies. It was like a cozy little care package in a way, straight from the heart. And then he had just gotten a puppy, so I tied, like, a little toy, kind of like a little animal monkey thing on the top instead of a bow on this basket. So I had it all ready to go. I'm all excited. We're going to do something. I'm going to get to hang out with his mom again. And that day comes along, and he avoids me again. I was like, oh, not again. And it was like that time I remember feeling like I was anticipating it. I knew he was going to do that. I just felt it like a fear, and it was like it was manifesting itself. I felt the fear, like he's going to reject me. I just know it. He's going to leave me high and dry. I'm going to feel like crap. Sure enough, I was crying and crying. The day after that, I had to go do a job on... It was funny, I didn't know at the time, but she was a sensitive, and she could feel my energy. I was doing makeup on her in a bathroom, and she had to keep leaving the room. She said she could feel the pain in my heart, and she could feel it, and it was... She couldn't handle it, basically. I was like, oh my god, what's going on? This is horrible. So I was really upset, feeling like crap. I ended up deciding, do you know what? I'm going to leave this gift basket that I made him. I'll leave it at the front desk of the building he's living in. Do you know what? He can have it, and he can see that I was really excited for his birthday. So I gave it to the front desk, and he contacts me after he got it, and I could tell I was like, oh, I was so sad. And when he called me, he's like, oh, this is so sweet. And I just said, you know, like, I don't get you. Why did you keep telling me we should do something for your birthday only to let me down in the end? And he just apologized, but, you know, he didn't say too much about it. He's like, I'm sorry that I keep hurting you or something like that. So we left it at that. At the time, I would go to work sometimes doing like a sort of makeup demoing job in between my other agency jobs. And I'd become friends with a girl at work who was spiritual, and I just really connected with her very quickly. I'd only met her a couple of times, and I told her about my situation with who I now know is my twin. I'm just like, this guy, like, it was after he really hurt me with that situation. And I was just like, I don't get him. Like, he comes so close to me. I feel these feelings. They're so intense. It's indescribable. But then he pulls away and completely rejects me. And I don't get it. And then he introduces me to his mom, but then he won't let me meet his mom again. And he seemed weird that his mom really liked me. Like, and she just stopped and was like, that sounds like he's your twin flame. And I said, what's a twin flame? And she's like, you've never heard of it? She's like, oh my goodness, you have to look it up. Like, it's basically what you're describing. So I went on my break later and I looked on my phone on Google, and I just looked up, you know, signs of a twin flame or something. And it's like so many of the things that we had had. First of all, there's a large age gap between us. I think it's 8 or 9 years. Yeah, 8 years, I believe. I'm older. And then we live in different countries. Both have a lot of childhood pain and trauma. Both very sensitive, and then basically it's describing sort of that push-pull, the runner-chaser, kind of the universe bringing you together and pulling you apart. Everything it was describing, I'm just reading it like, oh my goodness, whoa, what's going on here? So I start immersing myself in this information. I'm, you know, literally become obsessed with it. It gives me these answers like that I was looking for all along. I thought I was crazy. I thought I'd lost it. I didn't know what was wrong with me. Suddenly I'm finding articles, I'm finding YouTubers. I watched all of, you know, Lee and Sherry's twin flame story. Who else was I really connecting with? I watched some of Emerge, Grow, Prosper, her things about twins and the soul song, and you know, just whatever I could find. I really liked Emerge, Grow, Prosper. She described, like, there's just a video of the words of the stages of the twin flame union, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this makes so much sense. Yes, I get it. Wow. I've always been spiritual. I've always been intuitive. And what it was describing, like the telepathic connection, feeling the energy, the sexual side of things, it was like, oh, it was such a big relief to find out what was going on. I can't tell you what it meant to me. So again, I'm watching YouTube videos. I'm also at the same time just happen to be going deeper and deeper and deeper into my spirituality. I'm becoming more of like a hermit. I just want to stay home. I just want to be in my own energy. I'm going into healing. Things were just changing. I was blocking people out of my life that were just not the right energy for me. I was setting boundaries. Then after that, it was my birthday soon after that, and it's so funny because I always think of my birthday as like sort of this last time that I went into this sort of 3D woman that I used to want to be, which was, I don't know, at one point I think I was interested in maybe finding a man for money and just being taken care of, and I was like obsessed with exercising back then, but it was vain, more than it was for, you know, health, I think. So I went out for my birthday. My twin was out of town. He ignored me on my birthday again. I was upset again. But I went out and I just remember this vibe of being in a club and like kind of sleazy men with money coming up and, you know, sort of grabbing my waist, like, oh, I'll buy you a drink and things like that. And I'm just like, ugh, like I'm feeling so sensitive to it all and I'm hating it. I just want to go home. At the end of the night, I end up calling and just leaving a voicemail for my twin. You know, here I am, it's my birthday. All these people are out for my birthday party. I should be having fun, and I'm just thinking about him. So I left him a message. Again, he didn't call me back. Again, he had completely pulled away. I didn't know what was going on. I've since found out that he had found out that his ex had a new guy in her life, and they're fighting, they're butting heads. His ego's probably acting up. Oh, what a mess the energy was at the time. It was horrible. So he didn't call me. He didn't say a word. He came back into town from traveling away maybe a week or so later, and he called me, and I was so short with him. I was just like, yeah. And he's like, what's wrong? Are you mad at me? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, why? Like, I'm like, again, you know, last year you knew I got upset that you didn't contact me on my birthday, and now you just did it again. And instead of him just stepping up for me or saying, okay, I'm sorry, like, blah, blah, he basically just said, you're right, I'm sorry, I'll get out of your life, I'll leave you alone. And again, and he just hung up on me. I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Like, I was so frustrated. But I remember that was a first time that I really got vulnerable, because as soon as he hung up, it was sort of a mix of vulnerable and chasing, I'd say. As soon as he hung up, I wrote him. I'm like, look, like, I love you. Like, I care about you so much. It's just, this is hard and blah, blah, blah. He didn't respond back. Now, the thing was, when he went away out of town, I had a key to his place because my friends and I used it the one night, because his place was right in the city center, whereas I live out in the suburbs. So because we were going out in the city center for my birthday, I asked if we could sleep at his place, and he said that was fine. So I had a key. I knew I had to return this key, so I go to bed that night feeling upset. I woke up in the morning, and this was the first time I was very, very, very strongly guided by spirit to do something.